The cold. This morning, it's the only thing I can feel. It's not coming from outside the window. It's gnawing at me from the inside, from this empty stomach. These hands, they once built hundreds of solid homes in Detroit. Now, they tremble as I try to pour myself the last glass of water, trying to chase away the agonizing pain in my joints. I glance at the calendar. Today is the 1st, the day my Social Security payment arrives. And I know, just as surely as I know the sun will rise, my son Ryan will come too. He's not coming to hug his old father. He's coming to take it all. He will take the heating money. He will take the food money. And he will leave me here, alone, counting the days until next month, praying I can survive the cold. If you are listening from anywhere in the world, please leave a comment and subscribe, because there are truths that need to be spread, even if they shake your faith. There are stories, no matter how painful, that must be told. For almost 4 decades, I made a living as a construction worker in Detroit, building houses so others could have a safe home. But now my trembling, calloused hands can barely hold the empty coffee mug I try to fill in this looted kitchen. My stomach growled again. It's been 3 days without eating anything decent. I opened the cupboard out of habit, knowing what I'd find. Ryan had left the scraps, a single can of beans and half a box of stale crackers. He always leaves just enough to keep me from starving, but never enough to feel full. It would have to last. I'll have to make do with this, I muttered as I put the beans on to soak, trying to ignore the pain in my joints. A constant reminder of years lifting concrete and carrying bricks. The sound of the doorbell interrupted my thoughts. Through the window, I saw Logan, my 2-year-old grandson, standing at the door with his backpack. My heart leaped with joy. The only good thing I have left in this life is that kid. "Grandpa!" Logan shouted when he saw me open the door. He threw himself into my arms with the energy of a whirlwind. "Logan, what are you doing here so early?" "You should be in school," I said, letting him in. "Dad brought me. He said he had to talk to you about something important and that I would stay with you today." His eyes sparkled with excitement. "He says we can spend the whole day together." I frowned. Ryan, my son, never just brought Logan over like that, especially on a school day. Something wasn't right. Just then Ryan walked in without knocking. At 37, my son has become a stranger to me. There's nothing left of the boy I raised with so much effort after his mother died. Now he's a man with a hard look in his eyes, dressed in expensive clothes, which he surely bought with the money he's been taking from me. "Dad, we need to talk," he said, without greeting me. "Logan, go play in the yard for a bit." When Logan left, Ryan closed the door and sat across from me at the kitchen table. I noticed he was wearing new clothes and a watch that surely cost more than all my furniture combined. "I've come for the Social Security money," he said bluntly. "What money? It was just deposited today." "I need it for groceries, Ryan." "You know that," I replied, feeling my blood pressure start to rise. "I need the rest, all of it." His tone was cold, calculating. "I have an important business deal, and I need to invest. And what am I going to eat for the rest of the month? You took everything last month, and I ran out of food last week. Look at me. I haven't eaten properly in days." Ryan let out a laugh that chilled my blood. "Don't be dramatic, Dad. You have beans there. Old folks like you don't need much to live." His words hit me like a punch to the gut. How could he treat me like this? I, who had sacrificed everything for him after Elizabeth died. "I'm not giving you another $1, I said, trying to make my voice sound firm despite the fear I felt. "You've taken enough. I need that money to live." Ryan's expression changed. The smile vanished, and his eyes narrowed into dark slits. He stood up slowly, planting his hands on the table, leaning towards me. "Listen to me closely, old man. I'm not asking for your permission. I'm telling you that you're going to give me that money, the easy way or the hard way. Are you threatening me? I'm your father. You're a useless old man taking up space and money that I could be using." He spat the words with contempt. "You know what? We're going to the bank right now, and you're going to take out every last cent." "I can't do that, Ryan. It's all I have to." I didn't finish the sentence. Ryan slammed his fist on the table with such force that the empty mug fell to the floor, shattering into pieces. "I don't care. Are you going to do what I say, or I swear you'll regret it?" At that moment, Logan peeked his head through the door, frightened by the noise. "Dad, is everything okay?" As if a switch had been flipped, Ryan completely changed his demeanor. His face transformed into a mask of kindness. "Of course, champ. We're just discussing adult stuff. Your grandpa and I are going out for a moment," he said, forcing a smile. "Stay here and do your homework. We'll be back soon." Logan looked at me, confused. I could see the worry in his eyes. This kid has always been more perceptive than any adult I know. "Go on, Logan, I'll be fine," I said, trying to smile. "There are some of those stale crackers on the top shelf. Eat some while we're gone." Ryan grabbed my arm hard, almost dragging me to the door. As we left, I looked back and saw Logan watching us with those big, worried eyes. In the car, Ryan drove in silence. I stared out the window, wondering how I had gotten to this point. At what moment had my son turned into this monster who treated me like a burden? "Why are you doing this, Ryan?" I finally asked. "I gave you everything I could. I worked double shifts to send you to college, and this is how you repay me." "Repay you? You think I owe you something?" he replied, without taking his eyes off the road. "You did what any father would do. I don't owe you anything, and now it's my turn to live well. I have a business opportunity that will change our lives. I need that money." "What business? You never tell me about it. You wouldn't understand. Modern things, investments that will pay off big time. Like the previous ones, the ones that made you lose all the money you took from my savings account 6 months ago." Ryan slammed on the brakes, causing me to hit the dashboard. He looked at me with a fury I had never seen in his eyes. "Shut up. You don't know anything. This time is different, and you don't have a choice. Are you going to give me that money?" We arrived at the bank. With a firm hand on my arm, Ryan led me to the teller window. I felt people's gazes, but no one said anything. Maybe they thought he was a son taking care of his elderly father. How wrong they were. "Good morning," Ryan said with a fake smile to the teller. "My father needs to withdraw his entire account balance." The young woman looked at me for confirmation. I wanted to scream that I was being robbed, that this man was extorting me, but the words wouldn't come out. Fear paralyzed me. What would happen to Logan if I reported Ryan? Who would take care of my grandson? "Sir, are you withdrawing your entire balance?" the teller asked. I felt Ryan's hand squeezing my arm, his fingers digging into my skin like claws. "Yes," I finally replied with a defeated voice. "Everything." "You're probably asking, old man, why didn't you shout? Why not ask the teller for help? You see, when the fear of what he might do to Logan takes root in you, it's colder than a Detroit winter. It freezes your voice. Silence. Sometimes that's the price you pay to keep someone else safe. That silence in the bank is deafening, isn't it? He's choosing to protect his grandson, Logan, over protecting himself. That is a terrible, impossible choice, and the humiliation is complete, or so he thinks. Find out what happens when they get back to the house. The teller processed the transaction, my savings, my social security, everything I had to survive for the next few months. It was now in an envelope that Ryan snatched from my hands as soon as the teller handed it over. On the way home, we didn't speak. What could I say? I had been stripped of everything, and the worst part was that my own son had done it. When we arrived, Logan ran out to greet us. Ryan ruffled his hair affectionately, like he was the model father. "Logan, go get your backpack, we're going home," Ryan said. "But you said I could stay with Grandpa today," Logan protested. "Change of plans. Your grandpa isn't feeling well. He needs to rest." Logan looked at me, his eyes filled with disappointment. "Is that true, Grandpa? Are you sick?" I wanted to tell him the truth. I wanted to hug him and not let him go. But I couldn't. "I'm just tired, kid. You'll come another day, okay?" "Yeah." Logan nodded, though he didn't seem convinced. He went to get his backpack while Ryan looked at me with a triumphant smile. "Thanks for your cooperation, Dad," he said in a low voice. "Don't worry, you'll be fine. Old folks like you know how to manage." Before I could respond, Logan returned with his backpack. He hugged me tight, as if he knew something was wrong, as if he wanted to give me some of his strength. "I love you, Grandpa," he whispered in my ear. "I love you too, kid," I replied, fighting back tears. I watched them leave. The door closed, and I was left alone in my empty house, without food, without money, without hope. That first day, I sat in the kitchen chair, staring at the pieces of the broken mug on the floor, a perfect reflection of what was left of my life. A builder like me knows this. When something shatters, you have two choices. Walk away, leave the rubble, or start picking up the pieces. I sat there, and I wondered if I had the strength left to build anything at all. With trembling hands, I picked up the pieces of the mug. I didn't know how, but I was going to get my life back, my dignity, and my social security. And most importantly, I was going to protect Logan from becoming someone like his father. As I sat there, stewing in my own helplessness, I heard the sound of my neighbor's door opening and closing. It was Linda. I watched through the window as she checked her mail. Maybe she could help me. I had nothing to lose. With a surge of determination I didn't know I had, I got up and walked to the door. It was time to fight. When I knocked on Linda's door a moment later, I felt ashamed. I've never liked asking for help, let alone confessing that my own son was leaving me destitute. Men of my generation were raised to solve our problems alone, to be the provider for the family, not a burden. Linda opened the door, and her expression changed when she saw me. "Walter, what happened to you? You're pale. Can I come in? I need to talk to someone." She led me into her small, tidy living room, with photos of her children and grandchildren on the walls. At 59, Linda was a widow, and I was a widower. But unlike me, her children visited her every Sunday without fail. "Want some coffee?" I just made a pot. I nodded, unable to refuse something hot in my stomach. As she poured the cups, I told her everything. How Ryan had started by asking for small amounts a year ago, always with convincing excuses, until it escalated to leaving me without food for days, and now, without my entire check. That boy. How can he do that to his own father? The indignation in her voice comforted me. At least someone understood the gravity of the situation. The worst part is that he uses Logan. The kid isn't to blame for anything, but Ryan uses him as a shield. He knows I won't do anything that could affect my grandson. Linda set her cup on the table and looked at me intently. "Walter, what's happening to you has a name. It's abuse, elder abuse, and it's a crime." "A crime?" "He's my son. Being your son doesn't give him the right to leave you without food or take your social security. That's yours. You earned it working your whole life." Her words hit me hard. I had never seen it that way. To me, it was just my son being ungrateful, but a criminal. Abuse. Those are words you hear on the news, not words for your own family. You never think they belong in your own house, about the boy you raised with your own 2 hands. Hearing those words, it was like a hammer blow, cracking through the shame and forcing me to look at the truth. And what can I do? If I report him, what will happen to Logan? Linda sighed. "My niece works for APS, Adult Protective Services. Let me talk to her. There must be a way to protect you without Logan getting hurt." As we finished our coffee, we heard a commotion outside. From the window, we saw a patrol car parked in front of Mr. Harold's house, another neighbor our age. "I wonder what happened," Linda muttered. We went out to see. Several neighbors had already gathered. Mr. Harold was sitting on the sidewalk with his head in his hands while a police officer took notes. "They took everything," he said between sobs. "They showed up saying they were from the bank, that they were coming to verify something about my pension, and by the time I realized, they were gone with my wallet and the television." The officer, a young man with a tired, professional expression, barely looked up from his notebook. "And what did these people look like, sir?" "I already told you. 2 men, one tall and one short, in blue uniforms. They had ID. Did you see their faces clearly?" "Well, I don't remember well. It happened so fast." The officer sighed, closing his notebook. "Look, sir, without a clear description, it's hard to do anything. I'll file the report, but honestly, cases like this are rarely solved." I felt a pang of anger. This is how they treated the elderly, as if our problems were insignificant. The officer turned to leave, but then he noticed my presence. For a second, our eyes met. There was something in his eyes. Recognition? No, impossible. I had never seen him before. We went back to Linda's house, but I couldn't stop thinking about Mr. Harold. What if it hadn't been a random robbery? What if someone was systematically taking advantage of the neighborhood's elderly? "Linda, have you heard of more cases like Mr. Harold's lately?" She frowned thoughtfully. "Now that you mention it, Mrs. Dorothy told me her sister was also scammed a month ago. Someone claiming to be from the government, something about a special bonus for retirees. And what happened? They scammed her out of all her savings, $1,000 she had saved for emergencies." A shiver ran down my spine. It couldn't be a coincidence. That night, I returned to my house with a bit of food that Linda insisted on giving me and the promise that her niece would come to see us tomorrow. But I could barely sleep, thinking about Ryan, the money, and Logan. The doorbell rang early the next morning. When I opened it, I was surprised to see the same police officer who had attended to Mr. Harold. "Good morning, Mr. Walter. I'm Lieutenant Kenneth. May I come in?" Confused, I let him in. He sat in my living room, glancing around discreetly, surely noticing the sparse furniture and the lack of food in the kitchen visible from there. "How do you know my name?" I asked. "That doesn't matter right now. I'm here unofficially. I saw you yesterday at Mr. Harold's house, and I noticed something in your eyes. You're also a victim, aren't you?" His words left me cold. "Was it that obvious? I don't know what you're talking about." Lieutenant Kenneth smiled sadly. "Mr. Walter, I've been investigating cases of elder abuse for 3 years. I've seen that look hundreds of times. Fear, shame, helplessness. He's been seen. After feeling invisible for so long, someone finally sees his pain. But trusting a stranger, especially a cop, against your own son, that's a heavy burden. Let's see if Walter can bring himself to tell the truth." "Tell me the truth. Is someone mistreating or scamming you?" Something in his tone, in his sincere gaze, made me trust him. I told him everything from the first loan Ryan asked for to the incident at the bank. "What you're describing is clearly a case of financial abuse," he said when I finished. "But I understand your concern for your grandson. These family situations are the most complicated. What can I do? I don't want Ryan to go to jail. He's my son despite everything, and Logan needs him." Lieutenant Kenneth leaned forward. "There are options that don't involve jail. Restraining orders, rehabilitation programs, shared custody of the minor. But we need proof." "Proof? Like what? Recordings, testimonies, bank records, something that shows your son is leaving you without basic resources." "And I was just leaving," Kenneth added, heading to the door. Before leaving, he handed me a card. "If you need anything, Mr. Walter, don't hesitate to call. Please, be safe." I closed the door behind him, the small card feeling heavy in my hand. I barely had time to process his visit when I heard a key turn in the lock. The door opened again, and Ryan walked in, pulling Logan by the hand. "What was that cop doing here?" Ryan demanded, his eyes scanning the room suspiciously. "Did you tell him something about me?" "No, son. He was just asking about the break-ins in the neighborhood, like what happened to Mr. Harold. Just routine questions." Ryan didn't seem convinced, but Logan's presence restrained him. "Whatever. Logan, go to the room for a moment." "But Dad, now." When Logan left, Ryan approached me menacingly. "Listen to me clearly, old man. If I find out you've said anything to that cop, I swear you'll never see Logan again. Understood?" I nodded, unable to speak. Fear paralyzed me again. "I came because Logan insisted on seeing you. He has a school project on family histories and wants to interview you. I'll be back for him in 2 hours, and you'd better not say anything inappropriate." With that, Ryan left, leaving Logan and me alone. My grandson came out of the room and ran to hug me. "Grandpa, I brought you something." From his backpack, he pulled out a sandwich wrapped in aluminum foil and an apple. "I saw you didn't have food yesterday, so I saved this from my lunch." Tears filled my eyes. This boy, at only 12 years old, had more heart than his father. "Thank you, kid, but I can't accept it. It's your food. Please, Grandpa, I'll feel bad if you don't eat it." I gave in, sharing the sandwich with him while he interviewed me for his project. He asked me about my childhood, about how I met his grandmother, about the hardest jobs I had as a construction worker. "Grandpa, why does Dad treat you like that?" he asked suddenly, leaving me cold. "What did you say?" "I heard him yesterday when we got home. He was talking on the phone, saying he had taken all your money and that you were a useless old man." "Why does he say those things?" I felt as if the floor was opening up beneath my feet. What could I tell him? How do you explain to a child that his father is an abuser? "Your dad is going through tough times, Logan. Sometimes adults say things we don't mean when we're stressed." Logan shook his head. "It's not just that. I've seen how he treats you, and now you have no food, and you always give him money. It's not fair. Life isn't always fair, kid." "Well, it should be." His eyes shone with determination. My teacher says if we see an injustice, we should speak up, and what Dad does to you is an injustice. At that moment, the doorbell rang. It was Linda with a young woman. I assumed it was her niece from APS Walter. This is Emily, my niece. She works in Adult Protective Services. Emily shook my hand firmly. Mr. Walter, my aunt told me about your situation. I'd like to help you, if you'll let me. I looked at Logan, worried about what he might hear, but the boy stepped forward. Are you here to help my grandpa because my dad takes his money? He asked directly. The three adults were speechless. Logan continued, I know everything. I listen when Dad talks on the phone. I know he takes Grandpa's check and leaves him without food. And it's not fair. Emily knelt to be at his level. You're right. It's not fair. And yes, I'm here to help your grandfather, but we also want to make sure that you are okay. I'm fine. It's my grandpa who has nothing to eat. The way Logan spoke, with such maturity and clarity, filled me with pride and sadness at the same time. A child shouldn't have to deal with these situations. Before he could finish, the door burst open again. It was Ryan, and he was furious. He must have forgotten his keys. I knew it, he shouted, seeing Emily and Linda still there. You are planning something. He strode over to me. What did you tell them, old man? Ryan, stop. You're scaring him, Linda shouted. You stay out of this, Ryan yelled, then looked back at me. I warned you. You'll never see Logan again. He grabbed Logan by the arm. We're leaving. Now. No, Dad. You're hurting Grandpa, Logan cried. Ryan dragged him to the door, stopping only to glare back. This is your fault, old man. When they left, the room was silent. Emily was already on her phone. I'm calling the police. This has escalated. We have an immediate threat to a minor. Suddenly, Logan's small voice came from the kitchen table, from the audio recorder he'd left behind for his school project and forgotten in the chaos. I warned you. You'll never see Logan again. Understood? What did you tell them, old man? You stay out of this. This is your fault, old man. We stared at the device. Logan had left the audio recorder running for his school project and forgotten it in the chaos. Emily looked at me. Walter. He recorded everything. That's Lieutenant Kenneth's card, I said, my hand trembling as I pointed to the table where he'd left it. The officer who was here this morning. Emily grabbed the card and dialed immediately, her voice urgent. Lieutenant? This is Emily from APS. I'm at Walter's house. Yes, it's escalated. Ryan became violent, and we have a recording. We need you back here, now. We sat in stunned silence, the recording playing softly on the table, until we heard the sound of a siren approaching in the distance. Chills. Absolute chills. In all that chaos, the recorder was left running. This is the evidence they needed, captured by a 1-2-year-old boy. This single recording changes the entire game. Stay with us to see what they do with this power. You see, sometimes courage comes from the smallest places. My 1-2-year-old grandson, he'd given me a tool, not a hammer or a saw, but the truth. And it turns out, the truth is the most powerful weapon an old man like me can have. Half an hour later, Lieutenant Kenneth arrived, just as Emily had requested. His face was grim. He listened to the recording from the small device, his expression hardening with every word. Emily took the recorder carefully. This could be crucial evidence. But Logan, do you understand what could happen if we use these recordings? Your dad could get into trouble. Logan nodded solemnly. I know, but what he's doing is wrong. My grandpa taught me that we have to do the right thing, even when it's hard. His words pierced me like a ray of light. I had taught him that, yes, but now he was teaching me a lesson in courage. Emily continued explaining the process. I know, I said, feeling a knot in my stomach. What do we do now? I need those recordings, and we must act fast. I'll be back tomorrow with a colleague from APS and Lieutenant Kenneth. In the meantime, don't confront your son, and stay in touch with Logan if you can. After they left, I was alone with my thoughts. The situation had changed drastically. It was no longer just my well-being at stake, but Logan's safety as well. My heart sank. Things were about to get worse. I could feel it. But now I had something I hadn't had in a long time. Hope, and the determination of a grandfather willing to protect his grandson, no matter the cost. I couldn't sleep that night. The recording Logan left kept me awake. imagining the worst scenarios. What if Ryan discovered the recordings? What if he decided to take it out on the boy? I tossed and turned in bed, my empty stomach growling and my head full of worries. At 5 inches the morning, just as the first rays of sun were peeking through, I heard a noise at the door. Someone was trying to open it with a key. I jumped out of bed, grabbing the first thing I could find as a weapon, an old shoe. The door opened, and Ryan appeared. His eyes were red, as if he hadn't slept either, or worse, as if he had been drinking. "What are you doing here so early?" I asked, lowering the shoe but staying alert. "This is still my house," he replied in a slurred voice. He had definitely been drinking. "I'm here to get something." "What thing?" Without answering, Ryan started rummaging through the drawers, throwing everything on the floor. He was looking for something desperately. "Ryan, what are you doing? Stop." He ignored me, continuing his frantic search. Finally, he turned to me, furious. "Where is it? Where is it? What?" "I don't understand what you're looking for." He got so close I could smell the alcohol on his breath. "The deed to the house. I know you have it hidden. I need it." A shiver ran down my spine. The deed to the house, the only valuable possession I had left. The house I built with my own hands, brick by brick, after years of working as a construction worker for others. "What do you want it for?" "It's none of your business. They're old papers. You don't need them. It's my house, Ryan. The only thing I have to leave to Logan someday." Ryan let out a bitter laugh. "Logan? Don't be ridiculous. This dump isn't worth anything. It's worth everything to me, and I won't give you the deed." His face transformed. The sun's mask fell away completely, revealing the predator he truly was. "Listen to me clearly, old man. I need money, a lot of money, and I need it now. I have debts, big debts with dangerous people. Your social security isn't enough. I need to mortgage this house or sell it." "Debts? With whom? What have you gotten yourself into, Ryan? That doesn't matter. Give me the damned deed." He grabbed me by the shirt collar, shoving me against the wall. For the first time, I saw real danger in his eyes. This wasn't the child I raised. He was a stranger, a desperate man capable of anything. "I don't have it," I managed to say as he choked my throat. "You're lying. I left it at the bank, safe deposit box." He suddenly let me go, causing me to fall to the floor. Gasping, I tried to catch my breath as he paced back and forth, like a caged animal. "Which bank?" I didn't answer immediately, and that seemed to enrage him more. He raised his fist, and for a horrible moment, I thought he was going to hit me, his own father. But instead, he punched the wall, leaving a hole in the drywall that I myself had put up years ago. It's 5 a.m. Ryan isn't just abusive anymore. He's desperate and violent. That hole in the wall is a symbol of everything he's destroying. Walter is in real danger now, and he's about to find out why. "Answer me. Which bank?" I lied. In reality, the deed was hidden under a loose floorboard in my room, but he didn't need to know that. Ryan stared at me, as if evaluating whether I was telling the truth. Finally, he seemed to believe me. "Tomorrow we're going to that bank, and you'd better hope the deed is there, or I swear you'll regret it." He headed to the door, but before leaving, he turned one last time. "And don't even think about talking to that cop again. I'm watching you." When the door closed, I stayed on the floor, trembling. The threat was clear. Ryan was willing to take even the roof over my head. When a man is pushed into a corner, he finds strength he didn't know he had. He took my food money. He took my social security. But this house, the one I built with my own hands, this is where I draw the line. As soon as I regained my strength, I crawled to the phone and called the number Lieutenant Kenneth had given me. "Lieutenant, this is Walter. Something serious has happened." I told him what happened, and his response was immediate. "Don't move from there. I'm on my way with Emily from APS." While I waited, I took the deed from its hiding place and put it in the inner pocket of my old jacket. If Ryan came back before help arrived, he wouldn't find it. Lieutenant Kenneth and Emily arrived in less than half an hour. I recounted the encounter with Ryan in detail, omitting nothing this time. "This is an escalation of violence," Emily said, taking notes. "First financial abuse, now physical threats. Mr. Walter, we have enough to request an immediate protective order. And Logan. I'm worried about what Ryan might do to him if he feels cornered. We can also request emergency temporary custody," Emily explained. With Logan's recordings and your testimony, plus what just happened, any judge will see that the child is not safe with his father. But Ryan is his father. Can they really take his son away just like that? Lieutenant Kenneth intervened. Mr. Walter, I understand your concern, but think about this. If Ryan has debt so serious that he's threatening you, what guarantee is there that Logan is safe? People desperate for money can do terrible things. His words hit me with the force of truth. I had been so worried about keeping the family peace that I hadn't truly considered the danger Logan might be in. What do we do then? First, file the formal complaint, Emily said. Then get the protective order and request temporary custody of Logan. But we need to act now, before Ryan comes back. I nodded, making the hardest decision of my life. Let's do it. At the police station, the process was surprisingly fast, thanks to Lieutenant Kenneth's intervention. I filed the formal complaint, showing the bruises on my neck as evidence of the physical assault. Emily activated the elder abuse protocol and requested an emergency hearing with a family judge for Logan's custody. While we waited, I couldn't stop thinking about my grandson. How would he take all this? Would he hate me for reporting his father? Lieutenant, I said suddenly, I need to talk to Logan before all this explodes. He needs to know what's happening and why. It's risky, he replied. If Ryan finds out, please, he's my grandson. He deserves to hear it from me, not from a police officer or a social worker who suddenly shows up at his house. Lieutenant Kenneth seemed to consider it and finally nodded. All right, we can arrange a controlled meeting, but it will have to be brief and in a safe place. Emily suggested Logan's school. We can coordinate with the principal. It's neutral ground where Ryan wouldn't suspect anything unusual. And so we did. Emily made some calls and managed to arrange a visit to the school under the pretext of a Grandparents' Day activity they were supposedly organizing. When I arrived at the school, I felt a knot in my stomach. Was I doing the right thing? Wasn't I destroying Logan's family? The principal, an understanding woman who had been briefed on the situation by Emily, led us to her office where Logan was already waiting. When he saw me, he ran to hug me. "Grandpa, are you okay? I was so worried since I last saw you." I hugged him tight, trying to control my emotions. "I'm fine, kid, but we need to talk about something very serious." The principal left us alone, and with a heavy heart, I explained the situation to Logan. I told him about the report, the protective order, and the possibility of him coming to live with me temporarily. To my surprise, Logan didn't seem scared or confused. He nodded solemnly, as if he had already considered this possibility. "I already knew this might happen, Grandpa," he said, with a maturity that left me speechless. "Dad, he hasn't been the same since he lost his job last year. He's getting angrier, meaner. Your dad has problems, Logan, serious problems he needs to solve. But that doesn't justify what he's been doing. I know. My civics teacher says we are all responsible for our actions, no matter how hard our life is." I smiled sadly. This boy was wiser than many adults I knew. "Logan, I want you to know that you'll always be able to see your dad. This isn't to separate you from him forever. It's just until things get better." He nodded again, but I could see the sadness in his eyes. Despite everything, Ryan was still his father. "I'm scared, Grandpa," he finally confessed. "Not for me, but for Dad. Lately, he talks on the phone with people who make him cry. He says things like, 'I'll pay you, I just need more time.' Once I heard him say that if he didn't pay, they would hurt his family. His words confirmed my worst fears. Ryan was mixed up in something really dangerous. And now, not only Logan and I were at risk, Ryan himself could be in mortal danger. "Grandpa, there's something else you should know," Logan continued, lowering his voice. "Dad has a suitcase hidden at home. I saw it once when he wasn't there. It's full of weird things, white powder in baggies, colored pills, and a lot of cash. But there's also a gun." A gun. Those 3 words change everything. This isn't just about stolen checks anymore. Walter realizes his son is tangled in a world of drugs and dangerous people. The stakes just became life and death. I felt the world stop. Drugs, a gun. The situation was worse than I imagined. "Are you sure of what you saw, Logan?" "Yes, and there's more. Last night I heard Dad talking to someone on the phone. He said he was going to get money by selling the old man's house, and that if that didn't work, he had a plan B. He sounded really scared, Grandpa." Before I could answer, the door opened, and Lieutenant Kenneth walked in with a grave expression. "Mr. Walter, we have a problem. Ryan is at your house right now, apparently looking for you. My officers are watching him, but he seems agitated. Does he know I'm here? No, but he's asking the neighbors questions. It's only a matter of time before he finds out something." I looked at Logan, who had turned pale upon hearing about his father. "What do we do now?" I asked. "The judge has already issued the protective order and emergency temporary custody. Legally, Logan must remain in your care until the formal hearing. But we must act cautiously. Ryan can't know where you are." "Are we hiding?" Logan asked, his voice trembling. "Just for a few days, kid," I assured him, though I was terrified myself, until things calmed down. Lieutenant Kenneth took us to a safe house, a small apartment in a quiet neighborhood on the other side of the city. Emily accompanied us, making sure we had the basics to spend a few days: food, clothes, medicine. "No one knows you're here except us," the lieutenant assured us. "Ryan won't be able to find you." That night, while Logan slept in the next room, I sat with Emily and Lieutenant Kenneth in the small living room. "Based on what Logan told me about the suitcase with drugs and the gun, I think Ryan is into something very serious," I said. The lieutenant nodded thoughtfully. "I suspect he has debts with drug dealers. It's common in cases like his, desperate people who start selling small amounts and then get into debt when things go wrong." "What will happen to him?" I asked, feeling a pang of worry. Despite everything, he was still my son. If what Logan saw is true, Ryan could face serious charges: drug possession, illegal firearm possession, not to mention the abuse against you. "But he's also in danger," Emily added. "If he owes money to drug dealers, his life could be at risk." I ran my hands over my face, feeling the weight of the situation. This is all my fault. If I had acted sooner, if I had been firmer with him from the beginning. "Don't blame yourself," Emily said firmly. "Ryan is an adult who made his own decisions. You are a victim, not the one responsible. But he's my son. I raised him alone after Elizabeth died. At some point, I must have gone terribly wrong for him to end up like this." Lieutenant Kenneth put a hand on my shoulder. "Mr. Walter, I've seen many cases like this. Believe me when I say that some paths just get twisted, despite the best efforts of parents. The important thing now is to protect Logan and yourself." I nodded, although the weight of guilt didn't lessen. How had we come to this? How had my son, that smiling boy who once built sandcastles with me, turned into a man capable of abandoning his own father without food, of threatening me, of endangering his own son? A noise in the bedroom alerted me. Logan was standing in the doorway, silent tears streaming down his cheeks. "Is Dad going to jail?" he asked in a broken voice. I stood up immediately and hugged him. "I don't know, kid. I hope not. I hope he can get help for his problems. It's my fault," he sobbed against my chest, "if I hadn't shown those recordings." "No, Logan, no. None of this is your fault. You did the right thing, the brave thing." I took him back to bed, where I stayed by his side until he fell asleep again. As I stroked his hair, I thought of all the times I had done the same for Ryan when he was little. Where had that boy gone? Was he still somewhere inside the man he had become? The next morning, Lieutenant Kenneth arrived early with alarming news. Ryan went back to his house last night, but this morning he left in a hurry, carrying a suitcase. My officers tried to follow him, but they lost him near Eastern Market. "The suitcase, do you think it's the one Logan mentioned? The one with the drugs?" "It's likely. And there's more. We received information that he's been asking around the neighborhood for you, offering money to anyone who tells him where you are." My God, what do we do now? For now, stay here. The formal hearing with the judge is tomorrow. Once the temporary custody and protective order are ratified, we'll have more legal options. We spent the day locked inside, Logan and I, trying to distract ourselves with board games Emily had brought, but my mind kept thinking about Ryan, about what he was doing, about how desperate he must be to be looking for us like that. At dusk, when Logan was already asleep, I heard a strange noise coming from the front door, a scratching, as if someone were trying to force the lock. My heart raced. Had Ryan found us? How was that possible? Carefully, I approached the window and looked outside. There was an unknown car parked in front of the building with two men inside. I couldn't see their faces, but something about their posture put me on high alert. I grabbed my phone and called Lieutenant Kenneth. "Lieutenant, I think someone is trying to get into the apartment, and there's a suspicious car outside. I'm on my way. Don't open the door for anyone. Hide Logan and stay away from the windows. I hung up and ran to wake up Logan. Kid, get up. We have to hide. What's wrong, Grandpa? He asked sleepily. I'm not sure, but someone is trying to get in. I took him to the bathroom, the only place without windows, and told him to get in the bathtub. Stay here. Don't make a sound. I'm going to see who it is. Grandpa, don't go. I'm scared. I'll be fine. Lieutenant Kenneth is on his way. I left the bathroom and locked it from the outside. Then, arming myself with a broomstick, I crept silently to the front door. The scratching had stopped, but now I heard muffled voices on the other side. I couldn't make out the words, but the tone was threatening. Suddenly, a loud bang shook the door. Someone was trying to kick it down. I backed away, desperately looking for an escape route. The back window. We were on the second floor. It was too high. Another kick, and the wood began to splinter. It was a matter of seconds before it gave way. My phone vibrated. It was a message from Lieutenant Kenneth. 2 minutes. Hold on. 2 minutes. Could the door hold out that long? As if in answer to my silent question, the lock burst with the next kick. The door flew open, revealing 2 burly men in ski masks. His heart must be pounding out of his chest. It's one thing to be afraid of your son. It's another to have armed strangers breaking down their door. The danger is no longer just Ryan, it's the people he owes money to. And they just found Walter and Logan. Where is Ryan? One of them asked, pointing a gun at me. I don't know, I replied, my mouth dry with fear. We know he's your son, and we know he's hiding here. He has a debt to pay. You're mistaken. There's no one here but me. The man looked at his partner, who began to search the apartment. My heart was beating so hard I feared they could hear it. If they found Logan, last chance, old man. Where is your son? Before I could answer, we heard sirens approaching. The men looked at each other, alarmed. Let's go, one said. This isn't over. They ran out, leaving me trembling in the middle of the living room. Seconds later, I heard tires screeching as their car sped away. Lieutenant Kenneth arrived moments later, his gun drawn. Are you okay? Where's Logan? In the bathroom, hidden. While the lieutenant checked the apartment, I ran to free Logan. I found him huddled in the bathtub, shaking with fear. It's over, kid, it's over. We're safe. I hugged him tightly, feeling his small body tremble against mine. In that moment, I understood this had gone too far. It wasn't just a family dispute. It was a matter of life and death. We didn't sleep again that night. Lieutenant Kenneth immediately moved us to another location, a small house on the outskirts of the city that the police used to protect witnesses. We didn't ask how they had found our previous hideout. The important thing was that we were safe now, or at least we wanted to believe so. The house was humble but cozy, with basic furniture and a small kitchen. It had a backyard with some apple trees, which gave it a quiet, almost bucolic feel. It could have been a good place to rest if not for the circumstances. You'll be safer here, the lieutenant said, as he installed a portable alarm system on the front door. There's an officer on guard outside permanently, and no one knows you're here except my superior and Emily. How did they find us before? I asked while Logan settled in one of the rooms, too exhausted even to worry. The lieutenant sighed, rubbing his forehead tiredly. We have a theory. Remember Logan's cell phone? Phones can be tracked if you have the number and certain contacts. We think Ryan might have discovered his son had a phone and used his connections to track it. A shiver ran down my spine. What kind of connections does my son have to be able to do something like that? The drug trafficking world uses advanced technology, Mr. Walter. And based on what Logan told us about the drugs he saw, it seems Ryan is involved with high-level people. I sank into a chair, feeling my legs wouldn't hold me. What did I do wrong, Lieutenant? How did my son end up in this? Don't torture yourself, Walter. Many young people fall into that world, even with the best parents. The important thing now is to keep you and Logan safe, and see how we can help Ryan before it's too late. His words surprised me. Help Ryan? I thought you just wanted to arrest him. My job is to seek justice, not just lock people up, he replied with a half-smile. If your son is in trouble with drug dealers, he's also a victim, even if he made bad decisions. And from the looks of it, he's desperate, which makes him dangerous to himself and others. I nodded, feeling a mix of gratitude and worry. What's next? Tomorrow is the hearing with the judge. You and Logan will need to be present. The judge will confirm the protective order and temporary custody. After that, we'll have to find Ryan before the drug dealers do. When the lieutenant left, I was alone with my thoughts. I peeked into the room where Logan was sleeping and watched him for a moment. Even in his sleep, his face showed worry, his brows slightly furrowed. Too many worries for a boy his age. I went back to the small living room and sat by the window, looking at the stars. Where was Ryan now? Hiding, running, or maybe. I didn't even want to think about it. Despite the exhaustion, I couldn't sleep. Worry for my son, despite everything he had done, kept me awake. I remembered when he was little, how he used to follow me everywhere, fascinated with my construction tools, trying to imitate everything I did. I remembered his first day of school, his graduation, the birth of Logan. At what point had he strayed so far from the path? Dawn found me still awake, my eyes burning with fatigue and my heart heavy. I got up to make coffee, mentally thanking Emily for stocking the pantry with basic provisions. Logan woke up shortly after, his hair tousled and his cheeks marked by the pillow. For a moment he seemed confused, not recognizing where he was. Then reality returned to his eyes. "Good morning, Grandpa." "It's morning already." "Yes, kid. Want breakfast? There's cereal and milk." As we ate in silence, I noticed Logan kept looking out the window, as if expecting to see something or someone. "Are you worried about your dad?" I finally asked. He nodded, unable to speak through the lump in his throat. "Me too, Logan. Despite everything, he's still my son and your father. Do you think he's okay, Grandpa?" Those men last night seemed really angry. I didn't want to lie to him. This kid had proven to be more mature than his age suggested and deserved the truth. "I don't know, kid. I hope so. Lieutenant Kenneth is looking for him, to help him. What if the bad men find him first?" The question hung in the air, unanswered. We both knew it was a real, terrifying possibility. At noon, Emily arrived to take us to the hearing with the judge. She was dressed formally, in a pantsuit, and carrying a briefcase full of documents. "The hearing will be brief," she explained as we headed to the courthouse in her car. "The judge will review the evidence. Logan's recordings, your testimonies, the medical reports of Walter's injuries, and the police report on last night's incident. Everything indicates that the protective order and temporary custody will be confirmed." "And my dad?" Logan asked. "Will he be there?" "He was notified of the hearing, but given the circumstances." Her voice trailed off, leaving the sentence unfinished. The courthouse was an imposing building downtown. As we climbed the stairs, I couldn't help but feel a tightness in my chest. I never imagined I'd end up in a courtroom because of my own son. The hearing room was smaller than I expected, with only a few benches and a dais where the judge would sit. Emily showed us where to sit and began to organize her documents. Lieutenant Kenneth arrived minutes later with a grave expression. He approached us and spoke in a low voice. "Ryan's car was found abandoned near the Detroit River. There's no trace of him." My heart skipped a beat. "What does that mean? Do you think?" "Let's not jump to conclusions," he interrupted. "It just means we don't know where he is. My officers are searching the area." The judge's arrival interrupted our conversation. He was an older man, with grey hair and a stern expression, but not devoid of compassion. After the initial formalities, he carefully reviewed the documents presented by Emily. "Is the defendant Ryan present?" he finally asked. "No, Your Honor," Emily replied. "He was duly notified but has not appeared." The judge nodded as if he expected that answer. Given the facts presented and the severity of the accusations, I confirm the protective order in favor of Walter and grant temporary custody of the minor, Logan, to his grandfather until a full hearing is held or the defendant appears. He looked directly at Logan, softening his tone. "Young man, do you understand what is happening? Do you have any questions?" Logan, surprised that the judge was speaking directly to him, sat up straight. "Yes, sir, Judge. I understand I'll be staying with my grandpa for now. But what will happen to my dad when they find him?" The judge seemed moved by the question. "That will depend on many things, young man, but I assure you, we will do everything possible to ensure he gets the help he needs." With that, the hearing was over. In less than 20 minutes, my life and Logan's had officially changed. We left the courthouse in silence, each processing what had happened in our own way. Outside, the sun shone brightly, contrasting with the darkness we felt inside. "What now?" I asked as we walked to Emily's car. "Now we must decide where you will live," she replied. "The safe house is temporary. You need somewhere more permanent. Can we go back to my house?" I asked hopefully. After all, it was the only home I had. Lieutenant Kenneth shook his head. "It's not safe. If those men are looking for Ryan, it's the first place they'll look again. Besides, Ryan has keys and could show up at any time. But we can't live in hiding forever," I protested. "It won't be forever," Emily assured me. "Just until we find Ryan and resolve this situation. And if they don't find him?" The question went unanswered. No one wanted to consider that possibility. When we reached the car, I noticed something strange. A folded piece of paper was tucked under the windshield wiper. Emily took it cautiously, using a tissue to avoid touching the paper directly. "What does it say?" the lieutenant asked, moving closer to see. Emily unfolded the paper, read the contents, and turned pale. "It's for Walter." She handed me the paper, which contained a handwritten message. "Dad, I know you're with Logan. I need to see you. It's urgent. I'm in danger. Go alone to Belle Isle Park at 6 p.m. by the Scott Memorial Fountain. Please, don't tell anyone about this note. It's a matter of life or death, Ryan." I stared at the note, then at the lieutenant. How? How did he know we were here? How did he know this car? Kenneth's eyes scanned the street. He must have followed us from the courthouse. He's desperate, and he's close. My hand trembled holding the paper. The handwriting was unmistakably Ryan's. "Show me that," the lieutenant said, taking the note. He examined it carefully. "Are you sure this is your son's handwriting?" "Completely. This could be a trap," he warned. "The same men who tried to break in last night could be using this to lure you out. Or it could be genuine," Emily countered. "If Ryan is really in danger, either way you can't go alone," the lieutenant stated. "It's too risky." "But it clearly says to go alone," I pointed out, feeling a mix of fear and hope. If I show up with police, he might get scared and run. Or worse, if he's really being watched by those drug dealers. Lieutenant Kenneth ran a hand through his hair, visibly frustrated. "I understand your point, but I can't let you put yourself at risk like that. What if he goes, but we watch him from a distance?" Emily suggested. "Walter could wear a hidden microphone, a wire, and we'd have undercover agents in the park." The lieutenant considered the idea. "It's risky, but it could work. Walter, would you be willing to do this?" The question took me by surprise. Was I willing to risk myself to help the same son who had left me without food, who had taken my social security, who had threatened me? I looked at Logan, who was watching the conversation with frightened eyes. "If there's a chance to help my son, I have to try," I finally replied. "But Logan stays with you, safe. It's the craziest thing, isn't it? The same person who pushed you to the brink, who threatened you, he's still your blood." I was terrified. These old builders' hands were shaking, but if there was even a 1% chance to pull him out of the rubble, a father has to try, even if it means walking straight into danger. "No, Grandpa," Logan protested. "It's dangerous. That's exactly why you're staying with Emily, kid. Your father is my responsibility. You are mine." The next few hours were a whirlwind of preparations. Lieutenant Kenneth organized a discreet operation with plainclothes agents who would be positioned strategically in the park. They fitted me with a small hidden microphone under my shirt and gave me precise instructions on what to do and what not to do. At 5:30 p.m., I was ready to go. Logan hugged me tightly, as if he feared it was the last time he would see me. "Promise you'll come back, Grandpa," he whispered against my chest. "I promise, kid. I'll be back. And with any luck, we'll help your dad." Belle Isle Park was one of the oldest and largest in the city, with centuries-old trees providing shade over winding paths and rest areas. The Scott Memorial Fountain, as everyone called it, was the central point of the park, a marble monument with figures of dolphins and mermaids spitting water in shimmering arcs. I arrived promptly at 6 p.m., sitting on a bench facing the fountain. The park was surprisingly empty for such a pleasant evening. Had it been discreetly evacuated by the police? The minutes passed slowly. 6:05. 6:15. There was no sign of Ryan. "Do you read me, Walter?" I heard Lieutenant Kenneth's voice through the small earpiece in my ear. "Don't speak. Just cough once if you hear me." I coughed softly. "Good. We don't see any suspicious movement for now. If no one shows up in 15 minutes, we'll abort the operation." Just as the lieutenant finished speaking, I noticed a figure approaching from the opposite side of the park. He walked slowly, head down, hands in his pockets. As he got closer, I recognized Ryan, but something was wrong. His face was swollen and bruised, as if he had been beaten. He was limping slightly, and his clothes were dirty and wrinkled. "Target in sight," I heard the lieutenant say in my ear. "Stay calm." Ryan sat down next to me, not looking at me directly. "You came," he said in a low voice. "I'm your father. Of course I came." He finally looked at me, and what I saw in his eyes broke my heart. Fear, desperation, and something else. This is the moment. After all the pain, Walter finally sees the broken son behind the monster, and all that's left is shame. But even in this moment of forgiveness, you have to wonder, is it too late? Keep listening, because they are not alone in that park. Shame. "Dad, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. This is all my fault." "What happened, Ryan? Who are those men looking for you?" He looked around nervously before answering. "I got into something big, Dad. Too big for me. I started selling a little, just to make extra money. But then things got complicated. I lost a shipment. I owe them a lot of money. That's why you wanted my social security. That's why you tried to take the deed to the house." He nodded, tears in his eyes. "I was desperate. They threatened me. They said if I didn't pay, they'd go after my family. After Logan. Despite everything he had done to me, I felt a pang of compassion. My son was destroyed, trapped in a world that was devouring him. Where have you been? The police found your car abandoned. I had to ditch it. They were following me. I've been hiding, sleeping on the street, in abandoned houses. But they found me this morning, after I left your house. They beat me up as a warning." He showed me a huge bruise on his side, lifting his shirt slightly. "Ryan, let me help you. Lieutenant Kenneth is nearby. We can protect you, get you legal help." His head snapped up, his eyes wide with panic. "You brought the cops?" "Dad, no." He shot up, looking around frantically. "You don't understand, Dad. No one can help me. It's too late. It's never too late, son. Please, trust me." Something in my words seemed to reach him. He stopped, took a deep breath, and sat back down. "Dad, I need you to forgive me. For everything. For the money. For leaving you without food. For the threats. I was out of my mind. Fear turned me into a double of monster. I forgive you, Ryan. You're my son. You'll always be my son." Tears ran freely down his face. "Now, Logan, is he okay?" "Yes, he's safe. He misses you, believe it or not. He's a good kid. Better than I ever was. He doesn't deserve a father like me. We all make mistakes, son. The important thing is to recognize them and try to fix them." Ryan looked at me, and for a moment, I saw the boy he had been before life hardened him. "Do you think I can fix them? After everything I've done?" "I'm sure of it. But first, you have to turn yourself in to the police. It's the only way you'll be safe from those men." He considered my words for a long moment. Then he nodded slowly. "You're right. I'm tired of running. Logan deserves better. Lieutenant Kenneth is a good man. He'll help you." Just as Ryan seemed to have made his decision, I noticed movement at the far end of the park. 2 men were advancing towards us with purpose. I recognized one of them. It was one of the men who had tried to break into the safe house the night before. "We have company," I muttered, knowing the lieutenant would hear through the microphone. Ryan turned and saw them. The color drained from his face. "It's them. They followed me. We have to go. Now." Before I could react, Ryan grabbed my arm and started dragging me towards the opposite exit of the park. "Run, Dad. They're dangerous." We ran as fast as my old legs would allow. Behind us, the men quickened their pace, clearly chasing us. "Lieutenant, they're chasing us," I shouted, knowing he'd hear me through the mic. "We're moving in," his voice responded in my ear. "Stay calm and keep moving." But that was easier said than done. At my age, running wasn't my strong suit, and I soon started to run out of breath. Ryan noticed and changed direction, guiding me towards a denser area of trees. "This way, Dad. We have to hide until the police get here." We plunged between the trees, seeking cover. The sound of our pursuers grew closer. "Ryan," I panted, "I can't keep running like this. Just a little more, Dad. Don't give up." We found a small maintenance shed and hid inside. The space was cramped and dark, filled with gardening tools and bags of mulch. We ducked behind some boxes, trying to control our ragged breathing. "Do you think they saw us come in?" I whispered. "I don't know. I hope not." Outside, we heard voices and footsteps approaching. We held our breath. "Where did those bastards go?" A rough voice growled. "They can't have gone far." "The old man could barely run," another voice replied. The footsteps stopped right in front of the shed door. The handle turned slowly. Ryan looked at me, panic in his eyes. Then he made a decision that would change everything. He stood up from our hiding place and positioned himself in front of me, shielding me with his body. The door burst open, revealing the two men. One of them pulled out a gun. "There you are. Game over," he said with a malicious smile. "Leave my father out of this," Ryan replied, his voice firm. "It's between you and me. Your father is involved now too. You're both coming with us." "No." Ryan took a step forward. "My father has nothing to do with this. I'll go with you. I'll pay what I owe, but let him go." The man seemed to consider it, but then shook his head. "Sorry, but he's seen our faces. We can't let him go." He raised the gun, aiming it directly at my head. I closed my eyes, expecting the worst, but the shot never came. Instead, I heard a loud scuffle and then a cry of pain. I opened my eyes to see Ryan wrestling with the armed man, trying to divert the gun. "Run, Dad, run!" Ryan yelled as he struggled. I couldn't move. I couldn't abandon my son. At that moment, I heard shouts outside. "Police! Everybody on the ground!" Everything happened in seconds. The second man also pulled out a gun and aimed at Ryan. Without thinking, I lunged forward, pushing my son out of the way. I felt a sharp pain in my shoulder as the bullet hit me. The last thing I remember before losing consciousness was Ryan's terrified face screaming my name, and then the figure of Lieutenant Kenneth entering the shed, his gun raised. "Dad, don't leave me. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." Darkness enveloped me as sirens wailed in the distance. That bullet in my shoulder didn't just tear through muscle. It tore apart the curtain of silence I had hidden behind for so long. I realized I had spent my entire life building solid homes for others, only to let my own family crumble from the inside, out of shame and fear. Don't be like me. My greatest lesson is this. Abuse, even from your own blood, thrives best in silence. It banks on your silence. Don't let it win. Speak up, even if your voice trembles. That is true strength. Reclaim your worth. If this story touched you, please subscribe to the channel, because there are more truths that need to be heard.